Kubecon is just started. Let's take a look from the inside.
Hi, my name is Michael Withrow. I'm a product manager on the AKS team. Here to talk to you about a couple of new features that we're releasing here at Kubecon. One is Disable SSH, which essentially is a managed service, which allows you to turn off the SSH service so you don't have to manually apply NSG rules or anything like that. And we're going to be following that up with another feature we're calling AED SSH. So if you eventually turn on, disable it, turn off disable SSH, now you can go through and AED enable the SSH service so you're not running with the local service that's non-auditable. That'll be coming out here pretty soon. Also, I can mention that we released another feature called Trusted Launch, and that is a feature that enables you to basically secure the bootkit and rootkit, protect yourself from bootkit and rootkit base level attacks. And that essentially is basically a feature called virtual TPM, which we enable, and also there's driver signing with secure boot. So if you sign your drivers, then you can enable secure boot and basically protect yourself from those level of attacks. Lastly, we also have another feature called Network Isolated Cluster. So if you deploy an AKS cluster, there are essentially egress rules that are required to basically keep the cluster updated, like mcr.microsoft.com, which allows you to pull images, or Ubuntu as an example, where you pull your security updates as you're running your cluster. Essentially with Network Isolated Cluster, you no longer have to basically protect those endpoints, and essentially we'll be proxying all those off so that you don't have to run a firewall or anything like that in front of your cluster going forward.
Hi everyone, I'm Naranjan. I'm a software engineer on the Azure Kubernetes traffic team, currently working on the Ddio Service Mesh add-on for AKS. So recently my team announced general availability for the Ddio AKS add-on, and we're very excited about that. So some of the features we've rolled out for the Ddio add-on include customization through the Ddio Mesh config. We have plugin certificates with Azure Key Vault, Canary upgrade rollouts, and we have some exciting upcoming features as well. So currently you can integrate with Azure Monitor to scrape metrics from the Ddio add-on sidecars, but we are working on adding TLS scraping for Azure Monitor. We have multi-cluster mesh currently under design, and would love to hear your feedback about your ideal deployment architectures and networking setups. We'll also be integrating with Managed Certificate Authority, and we're also working on some enhancements to our upgrade experience. So a lot of exciting upcoming features on our roadmap. We feel that this is the great next step for enhancing your microservice security and resiliency on AKS. Another exciting feature we have coming up is the egress gateway integration. So currently you could use Ddio internal and external ingresses with the add-on, but we're currently working on designing egress gateway implementation for fine-grained control of outbound traffic.
Hi everyone, I'm Ganesh Kumar and I'm here to share about artifact streaming on AKS. Have you ever had a situation where your pod takes a long time to start? Well, artifact streaming is a solution to address that problem. Through using artifact streaming on the Azure Container Registry and the Azure Kubernetes Service, you can speed up your workloads significantly, from 20 to 30% to more than 10 times faster to start running your application based on the type of workload that you have. So how does it all work? First, from the user perspective, all you need to do is to enable artifact streaming on your node pool, and you also need to enable it for the repos or the images on Azure Container Registry that you want to speed up. Then what happens is your image is converted to a special format all behind the scenes, and you don't need to change any of your deployment scripts for that. Then when you run that image on the node pool with artifact streaming enabled, your pod start time goes up significantly. Your pod start time goes down significantly. So the way it works inside the node is we use this open source solution called Overlay BD, called Overlay Block Device, and that is a way to do on-demand image loading. So you pull what you need when you need it, so that instead of pulling the entire image to load before start, you just pull the image content that's necessary to run your application and start running it, and then whenever you need the rest of it, you just pull it later on demand. We also have another component on the node that detects whether your image has an accelerated image attached to it as an ORAS artifact, or if it doesn't, then you use the regular image for that. And with that, you can have an integrated experience such that you don't need to change any of your deployment scripts and you end up seeing the pod starts. Especially if your container image is very large, like several GB or several MB, and you need to speed up the pod start times for that. And if you want to scale up quickly, then having artifact streaming will address your use case. Thank you.
All right, yeah, so Cubecost is the leading solution for Kubernetes cost monitoring and optimization. We are partners with all 3 cloud providers, including Azure, and basically what we're able to do is give you cost visibility all the way down to the container level, and everything in between, including custom labels, namespaces, and so you're able to build reports and optimizations at any level that you want. So if you want to see your team's costs, you can save a report, you can get insights on how to make your environment more efficient, right-size your container requests. And we have a ton of optimization to help you save money. Some of our new features include network cost monitoring to help teams really get insights into what is typically a black box of network costs. We also have brand new forecasting to help teams get an understanding of what their cost is going to be in the next quarter or year, and new anomaly detection features as well. We just launched Cubecost 2.0, which has a brand new architecture and back end with huge scalability improvements and a ton of new insights for users. So come check it out and let us know what you think.
Hi, welcome to Kubecon EMEA. We are here at the booth of Calico Open Source, which is the most adopted open source networking and security solution for containers and Kubernetes. At any time, with respect to the numbers of Calico you are looking at, there are approximately 8 million plus nodes, 1+ million clusters out there running Calico at any time of day. More than 50,000 plus enterprises are running. And the biggest comment or compliment we get for Calico is, it just works. So it has been growing, it has a full community support. With Calico, you get the choice of the data plane. It has a pluggable data plane architecture, so if you have eBPF requirements, if you have the Windows HNS environments, or if you have the Linux IP table requirements, all of them can work with Calico. It's a one solution to help with all type of data planes. It has a full Kubernetes network policy support, best-in-class performance, encryption based on WireGuard, and also with the commercial products, you can get a lot more features with respect to Calico Cloud and Calico Enterprise. In that, we focus more on the container security with built-in network security into the product and the platform, where you get the runtime protection for the zero-day threats and the known threats from the network-based or the container-based attacks. Thank you.
Hello, I am Sudeep Goswami, CEO of Traffic Labs. Traffic Labs started as an open source project back in 2016, delivering the first cloud-native application proxy in the industry. Since then, what we have done is really given users this progressive journey going from the application proxy, which is open source, to the API gateway and to API management, all delivered as application as code through GitOps, being fully declarative. From day one, we have been cloud native, which started before Kubernetes was around. And then when Kubernetes came to the scene, we were quickly able to adapt that and became Kubernetes native. And we're the first Kubernetes API gateway product in the market. And this week and over the last few weeks, what we have announced are some major updates. We have announced a major version of our open source, which is now in release candidate, which is Traffic Proxy v3. And we're expecting to GA that, make it generally available in about a month or so. And with v3, one of the key things that we launched was support for WASM, HTTP WASM support. Up until now, we have had our Yagi plugin framework, and based on popular demand, we now have the WASM support as well. And this week at Kubecon Paris, we delivered our first application, the first plugin on that framework, which happens to be a web application firewall. And so this WAF, we have actually integrated from the OWASP Foundation. There are two specific projects, the Coraza WAF and the Mod Security Core rule set. We have integrated both of those into our open source project, giving users the ability to deploy a WAF at the API gateway layer, which is becoming a key architectural design principle in our digital native infrastructure that our customers are deploying. So that's the key thing. The second big thing that we announced this week was this progressive and a really seamless journey going from application proxy to API gateway. So with the click of one command and essentially a Helm chart install, our open source users are now going to be able to upgrade their proxy installation to a full-fledged API gateway with all of the capabilities that it brings, including authentication, authorization, high availability, security, as well as enterprise-grade support. And then the third thing that we announced this week is to really go down this journey with API management. And from a security standpoint, we now offer granular API access control. And what that really allows our customers to do is to define at an API endpoint level what are the various operations that they're going to allow or deny. For example, you have endpoint number one that only allows a get operation, and it should not allow any other operations like a post, an update, and other things. Whereas another endpoint might only allow an update operation. And by being able to compartmentalize these, you're able to then assign different policies. So for example, the get operation might have a different rate limit associated with it versus an update might have a different rate limit. So what this does is allows customers to have this offensive posture from a security perspective, because that is the best way for them to be the most defensive. So blocking things at the very basic level so attacks can't even get to the application. So this in combination with a WAF, we believe is going to really change the way our customers are deploying security in their API infrastructure.
So welcome and a warm welcome from Kubecon 2024 from Paris. So we are at the EngineX booth and talk about Kubernetes and all the things EngineX and what's new in the ecosystem. Where to start? It's like it was a blast of a year. And from the Kubernetes standpoint, very, very important things are happening here at Kubecon, and EngineX is delivering a new product, a new open source project to you, which is the EngineX Gateway Fabric. As the name can tell you, it is targeting the Gateway API in Kubernetes, so it is like a side project to what we already have with the EngineX Ingress controller for Kubernetes, which is targeting the Ingress API for Kubernetes. So we are catching up on features in terms of API support for the Gateway API for Kubernetes. So if you have some HTTP-based use cases for your ingress into Kubernetes, the Gateway Fabric is definitely a project you would like to try out. It's not a replacement right now for the Ingress controller. It sits literally next to it and can serve better for some use cases, not all of them, but for generic HTTP request handling at scale into your Kubernetes world, that's definitely worth trying. So that is something I would consider you to try out. Give the Gateway Fabric project a try and install it alongside your Kubernetes Ingress controllers to compare how easy it is to configure it in terms of the annotation-based configuration in the Ingress controller. Of course, another very, very important thing is what was just launched here at Kubecon, that we have now world-class WebAssembly support as a runtime capability on the Kubernetes platform. That was announced by Fermion with SpinCube. So we are basically working on a tutorial and documentation about how to use a WebAssembly runtime in Kubernetes at scale and have the Gateway Fabric as your HTTP layer in front of it to drive traffic to your WebAssembly components running on Kubernetes. So combining two awesome things, the Gateway API in Kubernetes and WebAssembly as a technology is the way to go. That's what we do at EngineX as well in various other projects. We have a WebAssembly support for EngineX unit as well. So a lot happened this year and a lot will happen this year, so make sure you check it out. And I hope you come home safe and have a pleasant last day of KubeCon.
Hey, so Sysdig is a cloud and container security platform, and it's built on the very popular and newly graduated Falco CNCF project. And that Falco-based runtime engine is detecting any number of anomalous behaviors within the container environment and the cloud environment as well. So Sysdig has always done deep inspection of a container environment. Basically, via our eBPF probe, we're streaming every single syscall and evaluating those for literally anything using the regular Falco open source syntax. What's really exciting lately is our ability to ingest things like Okta logs or CloudTrail logs, basically any meaningful source of cloud data, and correlate that, like we see here, with that deep runtime data as well. And that's where really exciting things can happen. That's where we can see that in-use vulnerabilities. We can see where if someone is, say, accessing a pod, we can see exactly what they're doing. So it's really all about that runtime data correlated with that cloud data as well.
Welcome from Kubecon in Paris here. My name is Engin, I work for Pulumi. We do modern infrastructure as code. That means using a generic programming language to define your infrastructure. Think about you use Python, you can just continue to use Python to define your infrastructure also. And we currently have some nice features going on. So we have Pulumi ESC, our environment configuration and secrets functionality, where you can define centrally your secrets and consume them in your different Pulumi programs. This is a really awesome feature. And second new functionality we have is all about platform engineering. So you platform engineers out there, you can define templates, you can provide the templates as golden path to your customer inside, and people can just quickly bootstrap from 0 to 100 in no time with your golden paths, all using Pulumi in the programming language of your choice. See ya!
Okay, so hi everyone. So Aatrix is a company that provides network and network security in the cloud. And the idea is that you have a controller that you deploy that's going to be the brain of your network. And from there you can deploy connectivity in a single cloud or in multi-cloud. And as you can see, that can become a distributed system where all the red dots are in fact security enforcement points. Today we are in the booth of the KubeCon because we just released a feature. And this one will help you bridge the gap between the Kubernetes world and the rest of your network. Think about an application that sits in a Kubernetes cluster, just a single service that needs to access a database. In my example, it's going to be a credit card server. Then you can just fine-grain the security on that spot. So I'm going to show you a demo real quick. So that is the use case. I have my front end and 3 different services. Only the checkout needs to access the database server. So let me switch to my interface here. So that's the Copilot, which is the brain of the network. And the idea is we start creating smart groups here. And my smart group is reflecting the actual deployment of my front-end service. Now I just got 4 IP addresses. And I switch my services, and I'm going to scale it down to 2 instances, 2 pods. But that's going to be automated in natural deployment. It's going to scale down. And now if I look back to my smart group here and refresh, you can see that now I only have 2 IP addresses, which are the 2 remaining pods. Now that smart group is very dynamic, and I'm able to apply the security policy using my single interface cross-cloud. I've got a rule here that says all the traffic is allowing from that VPC where you have the full cluster. I'm just going to disable that rule, okay? Turn it off. And the next rule that will apply is a rule that says just my checkout service is going to access my credit card database server. Not everything else is going to be blocked. Looking here, that's my checkout service. This one still has access to the database server. And now if I check my front end, to some extent, it's going to be blocked. We just need to wait a bit here. And you see, the connection is being now blocked just for the front end service accessing the database server. The checkout that needs to read the credit card information still has access. So that's the end of the demo. If you want to know more about Aatrix, just go to our website, aatrix.com. We also have a training certification program, the ACE program. You will find more on the website.
Hey, this is Lucas. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Loft Labs. We're the makers of vCluster, an open source project for creating virtual Kubernetes clusters. And we're super excited to be here meeting with all the community members and obviously our customer base as well. We announced a Rancher integration here at Kubecon, which we're very, very excited about. Now you can manage virtual clusters in Rancher exactly the same way as you manage real clusters or namespaces in Rancher. What are virtual clusters? Well, virtual clusters allow you to create entire, fully featured Kubernetes clusters that run inside the namespaces of another Kubernetes cluster. So essentially enabling multi-tenancy. That means, instead of having to create 500 clusters for every developer and every CI pipeline and everything you want to set up, you can just create virtual clusters instead. And the benefit of virtual clusters is you can essentially have central components like a Istio, Open Policy Agent. All of these components can be shared in the underlying cluster, and then you can have the virtual clusters on top making use of these shared components. And that obviously reduces a lot of cost. It gets rid of a lot of duplication and headache with having to upgrade, 300 Istios, right? Because now maybe you just need 3 or 4 real clusters, and then you can have hundreds or even thousands of virtual clusters running on top, sharing the same underlying platform stack on these clusters. It works pretty much in any cloud, so you can use us with AKS, with EKS, with GKE, in your private cloud, right? And obviously now also with Rancher, with our new Rancher integration.
Hi, my name is Muad Qasim. I am the VP Engineering at Kube Medic, and today we're going to talk a little bit about KKP, our main product for Kube Medic, and how it can help you to scale Kubernetes clusters on multi-cloud. Today is a very nice day here in Kubecon, and we're going to dip into it right away. KKP is our main flagship product that helps you to scale up Kubernetes clusters across multi-cloud. It gives you also the possibility to scale up Kubernetes clusters on edge environments, such as your infrastructure, your industrial edge, or even any automobile edge. In addition to that, we have just released a new product which calls Kubecon. It actually gives you the possibility to run load balancers at scale and a load balancer as a service in your multi-environment Kubernetes clusters. On top of that, multi-tenancy is in the heart of our product. It helps you to run Kubernetes clusters at scale for your multiple customers with a very, very abstracted way for multi-tenancy, for highly dynamic environments. In addition to that, security also kept in mind. Thank you very much, and I hope you will use it.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Manantis booth at Kubecon Paris. My name is Edward, and we're introducing 3 new products here at Manantis. We have Lens 2024, which has a new revamped UI that has a tab feature that's going to be introducing a new extensions API where we're going to be able to manage and monitor other cloud-native technologies directly in Lens. On top of that, we're showcasing K0s and Cosmotron. K0s is a lightweight open source Kubernetes distro with 0 dependencies, meaning it can be deployed anywhere and on any operating system. An extension of K0s is Cosmotron. Cosmotron is a fantastic technology that is going to allow you to manage a fleet of clusters through a single control plane. So what does that mean? That means if I have a cluster in thousands of vehicles and thousands of clusters across these vehicles, I can actually extract one control plane and have that control plane manage all of the thousands of clusters across these vehicles and deploy these clusters across any platform or infrastructure on any operating system. So stop by at the Manantis booth here at Kubecon Paris, and I thank you all for being Lens users, Cosmotron users, and of course, K0S. Thank you so much.
Hi, so Mino is a high-performance distributed object storage, and it's a S3 APIs at the top, and we are a drop-in replacement for AWS S3 for any kind of workload, any kind of use case, and you can run Mino on bare metals, on VMs, as well as on Kubernetes. For the last 5 years or so, we've been quite popular in the Kubernetes community for a few reasons. One of them is our cloud native approach to the problem. Second one is we were quite small footprint in terms of the binaries that we built before we put our UI into it. Our software was only about 50 megabyte or so. That made us very popular in Docker initially, and then when Kubernetes became the orchestration of choice for many people, we became really popular for any kind of S3 bucket serving in a Kubernetes setup. We built our own operator that made us that gained us a lot of popularity, and we've been attending KubeCon for a few years now, and we get a lot of attention from Kubernetes developers. Anybody who's deploying a platform using Kubernetes, using our software with our operator or Helm chart, as well as we have written our CSI driver. Our CSI driver is also quite popular. A few of the choices of Kubernetes flavors comes with a CSI driver. People don't use those CSI drivers, but use our direct PV because it's simpler, easier. And that's the reason why we ran out of all of our t-shirts at KubeCon. And we had about 1,300 people, 1,300 people already visited us yesterday and today, and we have one more day to go, and that shows us the popularity and why we are here at KubeCon. And one last thing we want to talk about today is we have just released our Mino Enterprise. Mino Enterprise is 6 products all put together, given to our enterprise customers. And in this screen you can see we have built products from observability to caching, to catalog, to KMS, which is our own KMS that's built by Mino, essentially, if you don't want to use somebody else's KMS. We have also a load balancer, we call it the application or data firewall, and that's built by Mino. You can use it as a load balancer in front of the Mino services, Mino deployments in Kubernetes or outside Kubernetes, doesn't matter. But we have built all these products from the learnings we got from our enterprise customers. Today we have petabytes of storage deployments, 200, 300, 400 petabytes of deployments from large customers, and we are talking to planning for their infrastructure for exabyte scale. So Mino is quite popular in the large end of the spectrum from customers, as well as people doing Kubernetes deployment in a small scale with as minimum as 4 worker nodes, with 4 PVs, people are starting to deploy Mino.
We are a platform that helps you verify the behavior of your Kubernetes-based system at runtime, right? And for doing this, it works out of the box with Kubernetes. Once you install us in your cluster, we will detect all the movable parts of your application, and then first of all allow you to visualize it in any way you want in order to, for example, detect secret risks. So what we could be doing is, in this particular case, you can see that some deployments aren't deployed redundantly, others are not spread across availability zones, and then we also offer all of the expected fault injection mechanisms that you'd expect from a chaos engineering solution. So you can inject latency or network conditions on a container level. You can manipulate state of containers. You can inject resource consumption issues. Yeah, and on top of that, we also interact with your observability solutions so that you can probe for specific post conditions. So everything you'd be expecting from a chaos engineering solution is there. And in Kubernetes, its setup is as easy as running a Helm chart.